Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So today is BookList Thursday. BookList Thursday is something I do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of book thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. So today's theme goes along the lines of the kind of, I don't know, non-official nonfiction November theme. How about we go with that? So typically in the bookish world, November is a really big month for people reading a lot of nonfiction books because it just makes sense, nonfiction November. So today we thought we would come and give you a little taste, five nonfictions that we recommend, and then 5 nonfictions that we still want to read. And let's just say my pile that I want to read, there's a lot of thick books. It's fine, it's fine. Nonfictions are typically ones that I will listen to. I tend to understand them better. I'm usually able to finish them a little bit easier if I'm listening to them as opposed to reading them. But these ones, I think I only listened to one of them. Nope, I listened to 2 of them. So it's not too bad. I read the other ones. So let's get started. First one I want to tell you to read is The Distance Between Us by Reina Grande. This follows Reina's family as she grew up in Mexico. I'm trying to think of the years that she was down there. I want to say it was like the 80s. It could have been a little later. But it talks about her growing up in Mexico with her mom, with her sisters, and her brother. And having this idea of this, what do they call it? It's a journey basically that her father takes to the United States. He hires a coyote, I think they're called, to take him across the border, and he sets up a life there and then supports his family that way. Her mother does go to visit him at one point, comes back, and eventually her sister, and her brother start out on this trek to cross the Mexican border. I think her dad comes and gets her and takes her across. So it follows growing up in Mexico, what she was experiencing, actually going through and crossing the border, and then what happened once she was here. Really, really well written. There is a young adult version of this book as well that I've heard really great things about. But I read this for a book club and so much to talk about. It was fantastic. Highly recommend. It is a nonfiction that reads like a fiction, which I'm a huge fan of nonfictions that read like fictions that just do a very good job of telling the story. And this is one of them. The next book I want to talk about I read earlier this year, and it's called The Port Chicago 50, Disaster, Mutiny, and the Fight for Civil Rights by Steve Sheinkin. And he seems to be quite the nonfiction writer. There's actually quite a few that he has written. He has one on Benedict Arnold that I'm really interested in. But there's a lot of them, and they're these shorter, there's a lot of pictures and a lot of graphics in them. He does a really great job of capturing your attention. So this one actually takes place during 1944. There is a huge explosion at Port Chicago, which is in California, killing 320 servicemen and injuring hundreds more. What's really telling about this is that this port was where the majority of the black sailors were sent to work. So pretty much everyone who was killed was African American. And so it kind of opens up this wound around civil rights within the military. It was a fantastic read, really, really good. I did not even realize this happened. What led up to it happening, very eye-opening. Awesome book, and like I said, really short and very telling. Highly recommend this one as well. The next one I want to talk about is If You Tell, and it's written by Greg Olson. It's over here. But this one I actually just finished not that long ago, and this one tells a story of the Notek family and how unbelievably messed up that family was. Really specifically the mother, Shelley. So this follows Shelley kind of as she's a child and how she grew up, and then the number of relationships she went to. She had 3 kids and like thrived on power and thrived on torture and thrived on making other people do her dirty work. And oh my God, so you have perspective of all of the kids growing up in this household and what they went through and how it finally, this circle finally ended. It was unbelievable. Hard to read at some points, but yet hard to put down. So there's that book. It's called If You Tell. It is wow. It's wow. That's all I have to say. It's crazy. And then the last couple I want to talk about are memoirs, which I, of course, consider nonfiction. I do really enjoy memoirs quite a bit. The first one I want to talk about, I've talked about a few times on my channel. It's Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. I'm only bringing this up again because it is being made into a movie on Netflix. I could be wrong, but it's being made into a movie. So this follows J.D. Vance and his, I guess, childhood and growing up in rural Kentucky? Yes. In Kentucky's Appalachia region, and it's very close to the Ohio border. And growing up in this hillbilly culture, this hillbilly world, another eye-opening. There was parts in this book where J.D. Vance explains why he did something, and it just was eye-opening as far as how these actions that were wrong were made very normal in his youth and growing up. It also talks about how he had his grandmother who was a rock to him. If it wasn't for his grandmother, I don't know what would have ended up with or where he would have ended up, but she was the pillar of the family and really helped him become the man that he is. So highly anticipate the movie. Highly recommend the book. It's pretty short. This one I read part and then listened to the rest of it. Either way you go, it's fantastic. And then the last book I want to talk about, I don't remember how many I have, but I'm kind of like this type of book. So this is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I listened to this book as well. Really, really enjoy these books. So I've read the Michelle Obama book. I've read Amy Poehler's book. I've read Amy Schumer's book. I've listened to Tina Fey's book. Anything by a leader that is a woman, I have been trying to devour as much as I can and learn as much as I can from these people. Michelle's story is fantastic. I loved her early relationship with Barack and how that all developed and how she got pulled into politics when she had no desire to be part of it. It's fantastic. I think she's a fantastic woman. If you don't, that's fine. It's good for you, not for me, but I think she's fantastic. I love the book. I love listening to the book. She narrates it. It's awesome. So Becoming is the other one I wanted to recommend that I love. So let's talk about the books that I want to read that I need to get to. And the first one I feel like is, I need to get to this sooner than later, almost to the point where I should like tab out, a chapter a day or something. But it's called True or False. It is a CIA analyst's guide to spotting fake news. Someone that I work with highly recommended this book. I immediately went and purchased it because, again, we're living in this time where I know I am having a hard time understanding what to believe, what not to believe, what is being spun in a certain way for a certain reason, that I think that this would really shine the light on some of this. There are some really great, she's got little graphics and little tidbits and examples in here. So I'm really, really excited to get to this one. And like I said, the person I work with said it was phenomenal. So this is number 1 on my list that I want to pick up. The next, these are pretty much in order of how I want to read them. Next one I want to read is Before and After. This is by Judy Christie and Lisa Wingate. Lisa Wingate wrote the book Before We Were Yours. And if you remember, Before We Were Yours was about the Tennessee Children's Society or something like that Georgia Tann ran, where she basically kidnapped kids between the 1920s and the 1950s, and and brought them into this society and offered them up as orphans, tailored them, that she picked these beautiful, perfect children, tailored them to kind of the wealthy. So this follows the real life stories of those orphans who survived the Tennessee Children's Home Society. So I don't know how many people we go through. Oh yeah, there's different parts, I don't know, and there's pictures, and this just really puts some names and faces to the actual event. This, Before We Were Yours, was one of the books that I still can't stop thinking about. I still find myself going down this rabbit hole of how did this happen? So I'm just curious to see some of the real life stories come to life. So before and after. The next one I have is a chunker. The next two I have are chunkers. And this one is all thanks to, I believe, Vicky at Vicky's Book Nook, because she makes me buy books. Just saying. But I picked up Midnight in Chernobyl by Adam Higginbotham. It talks about one of the world's greatest nuclear disasters. And there are maps galore in this one. This is probably one I'm going to listen to because man are we ever chunky. But I'm really interested into like what exactly happened, what led up to it, all of that fun stuff. So not that it's fun, but just fascinating to me. So I have that one to read. The next one I want to pick up is, I'm a little nervous to do it because the first book I read by this author I wasn't a huge fan of, but this subject fascinates me. And if I think back to that specific book, half of the book I really enjoyed. Then there was like the way too detailed book. So let's talk about the book I'm talking about. So The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson. I'm talking about Erik Larson's, why is that name escaping me right now? Devil in the White City. Hello. I loved the parts where it talked about the serial killer that was at the World's Fair, but not so much the very in-depth descriptions of the World Fair. So we'll see how this goes. So Splendid and the Vile, this is the story of Churchill, his family, and then what he did and how he helped during the Blitz as Hitler was trying to invade London. So another chunker of a book, another one I may listen to, but I've been hearing really great things about this book. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there to want to pick this up. I mean, I have it. I should read it, right? Right? I also have his book Dead Wake as well. Oh, I gotta get on that. Then the last one I want to listen to is Columbine by Dave Cullen. This is a really in-depth, I believe it even includes, I think it's one of the more detailed books on what happened in Columbine in 1999. April of 99, I was a junior in high school. So very much remember this. We ended up having metal detectors installed for a little bit after it. We had missed a couple days of school because shortly after this we had our own list that happened at the high school. So it's just growing up and knowing about this happening while I was in high school, it just hits really close to home. But I'm excited and a little scared to read this as well. But I've heard nothing but really good things about this one, and this might be another audiobook that I pick up. So I've got like quite the chunky books for nonfictions, like these three alone. Like look at those, they're big. But I am a big fan of nonfiction books. I just feel like you can learn so much for them. I mean, anytime you're reading, I believe you're learning, but really when you're reading these nonfiction books, you're learning quite a bit. So I'm excited to get to these. I am highly recommending the 5 that I talked to you about. Definitely pick those up. Otherwise, head over to Sarah's channel and see what she has picked out for us today. A, to recommend, and B, which ones she wants to pick up next. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.